So our game is a maze runner with 3 levels, each with increasing difficulty as you go. So the main objective of the game is to clear the maze and reach the flag within the given time limit. Failure to do so would mean that you have to repeat the level, and makes the game competitive and sort of like increases the difficulty is that mazes increase in size, so getting more difficult to clear with the time given. And the mazes are also randomly generated. So you're not guaranteed a win every single time that you play, even at the easiest level. As you play along the way, you'll find power-ups such as increased speed power-up and time increase power-up, and you'll not be able to walk through the walls, and you will be able to collect coins based on the physics model that we've created.
On our game Maize Titan, for controls before you enter the game, there's a guide on how to move around the game under the control option. So we use W to move forward, S to move backward, D to rotate to the right, A to rotate to the left, and then we use the left shift to sprint. And the symbol 1 is used to switch between the first camera and then the third camera.
Also, when you hover over the minimap, it scales up and becomes more opaque to help you navigate around the maze.
Immediately when you run the game, a menu pops up containing the following: the start, the level, the credits, and the controls. Start is for starting the game. Levels, that's where you select different levels. Credits, that's where you find the links. And then controls, that's where you find the control main. When you start the game, there is a button written pause, and if you click that button, then a menu pops up containing the following: resume, restart, and quit. Resume is for resuming the game, restart is for restarting the game, then quit is for taking you back to the main menu. And the consistent color scheme that was used, it is white. Different sounds were implemented. There was a sound that plays when you win. There is a sound that plays when you lose.
Basically, each level is written with its own theme, which uses a variety of textures and materials to create a believable and immersive environment. Also, you will find that on each level, upon reload, the level has a new maze that is generated. And it is generated using a recursive division algorithm, which works by repeatedly dividing the maze into smaller and smaller sections. And at each step, the algorithm decides whether to place a wall or a passage between two sections. This then is continued until the desired size and complexity of the maze is reached. But one of the most innovative aspects of the maze generation is that it uses a combination of different techniques to create a more varied and interesting experience for the player. For instance, the algorithm sometimes generates mazes with multiple paths to the exit. This will then allow the player to choose their own path and then explore. Each level also includes a variety of different obstacles that the player must avoid, as I've mentioned before. These obstacles include snowmen, lanterns, rocks, and the player must use their skills and cunning to navigate through these obstacles and reach the exit of the maze. So the aspect of hierarchical modeling is used to create the scene that is both complex and efficient. It's used in the creation of the obstacles, your snowmen, your lanterns, your rocks. It is also used when creating the maze walls themselves, because they're basically created using a primitive in the framework. So the scene is made up of different objects, each of which has its own geometry and materials. These objects are then grouped together into larger objects, which are in turn grouped together into an even more complex object, and eventually we're going to get ourselves the scene.
I have crafted a captive and immersive game that has a 3D scene that is animated. As a player moves in our 3D world, they'll experience a dynamic world filled with moving platforms, shifting walls, and intricate traps. Okay, all those traps and moving objects, they're all 3D. My walls are in 3D, and all the traps and platforms, they're in 3D. In our 3D game, the avatar is brought to life through intricate animations. This implies that the character doesn't move statistically, it moves with fluid and realism, which means dynamically so because it changes with time. Every action from walking and running to jumping and interacting with the environment is all carefully choreographed in 3D. Okay, and again, for our avatar, we have two cameras, which is the first person camera and the second person camera. The first person camera is like embedded on the person, whereby the view is like a real world, whereby what you see as a human being. And the third person camera is a camera that is like behind our avatar. And as a result, you can choose that you want to be in a first person or third person camera. And lastly, we have a picture-in-picture view, which is a feature that enhances the use of multitasking, because as you play out a game, you can view your min map where you can see where you are and how far are you from the goal. So as a result, we have a picture-in-picture that is helpful for a player to be able to see and judge which decision to take.
In terms of the 3D effects, we used multiple textures and lighting effects to simulate the different environments in which our game is set in. We have like shiny textures, ice textures, volcanic rock textures, and all those things, and concrete textures. And then when you're running around, you can actually see the shadows that is casted by the player onto the game objects, and other game objects also cast a shadow onto the ground, and so on and so on. And then in terms of the skybox, we tried our best to emulate the real world, where we just have a 360 degrees image that is wrapping around the game scene. So whenever you turn, you're going to see a different picture, a slightly different picture, which emulates what you would see in real life. And then in terms of shading, we used multiple textures like the crystal texture that also reflect lights similar to here. And also in terms of coding style, we tried our best to modularize our code. We used the concept of object-oriented program, so the level is an object of class level as seen here, and we used functions to easily reuse our code blocks. And for the main part of the application, like the state management of the application, we use the singleton design pattern, so that we only have a single instance of our game and a single instance of all the variables that we need, like audio. We only need a single instance of an audio file, not multiple running around. We have spinning coins on the ground, and also we have the waving flag. So enjoy my board gameplay.